Hey, true believers. Chris Mack coming at you with an action figure that I at first had zero interest in, but it has grown on me. Today we're going over the McFarlane Toys Spawn Universe Soul Crusher action figure. And this thing, when you actually get it out of the packaging, is an excellent figure. If you guys want to pick this up at the time of this recording, it is available on Big Bad Toy Store. However, as I always say, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and see if they have any of this wave. And me, this was kind of a happenstance moment where I went grocery shopping, went down the collector's aisle there by electronics, and there he sat, and I was like, I'll give it a shot, and I'm glad that I did. So you can see here, Spawn Soul Crusher, 14 points of articulation, McFarlane Toys. Get the cool Spawn logo yet again, and kind of a cool product shot of the figure. Come around to the back, and this is what kind of sold me, is it kind of gave me a Fallout feeling. So that's why I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna get me a post-apocalyptic looking dude. Come back around this side, very cool artist rendition with the Spawn logo in the background. Excellent work there. Nothing else on the bottom, just the window on the top. So with that said, let's get this figure out and see if he is awesome or not. Here's the Soul Crusher out of the packaging, and when you get him displayed with his weapons, absolutely astounding looking figure. Just on this preliminary, looking at it getting out of the package, I highly recommend this bad boy just because it's just something unique and different in my personal opinion, and that's something that I always go for when I look for action figures, whether it's like, you know, characters that I know or brand new ones. It's just to have like this different look to it, and that's what the Soul Crusher brings to the table. So let's get him off the stand here and get a more in-depth look at what I'm talking about. Quick backstory on the Soul Crusher. His first appearance was Spawn number 270 from February 2017. And from what I've gathered and what issues I did read, he's a mysterious, scarred figure of wealth and power. He claims he's doing good, but Spawn doesn't believe him because a lot of his tactics are quite horrific. To me, he's very much a twisted version of Batman. Now you get more in depth with the Scorched series, which I didn't read. However, it's revealed that the original Soul Crusher was a feeble old man who took orphans across Ukraine and Russia and trained them as Soul Crushers. And they would join the Scorched team to free Earth from heaven and hell's influence. So it kind of sounds like, an episode of Supernatural. But from what I gathered and what I saw, it seemed like a really interesting line, and I may have to go back and read the rest of it, maybe in a collected trade. If you read the series, let me know. But with that said, let's look at the accessories that this figure does come with. Just like with all the more modern McFarlane figures, he does come with the stand, get the cool Spawn logo, so that's awesome. And then I love this little gun. I don't know if this would be like a 45 or a 9mm, but that nice black has the nice touch to it. Handle looks good. I kind of wish there was a little more gunmetal gray on here, but still I'm glad that they actually put the detail into it and not make it look super cheap. So good stuff there. This kind of the rifle with the bayonet is my favorite one. I like how it has this nasty brown look about it, like it's actually seen some action and it has been run through the muck. I don't know if this is supposed to be an AK-47 or which one. Just let me know, because I'm not super versed, but I'm always willing to learn. Like how the mag's sitting there. The butt, I'm like, what is that thing called? The butt, I'm going to touch the butt. And I like that it has a little sniper scope on it. Bayonet blade on the front looks good. And of course, you guys are like, what am I looking at? It's all blurry. There we go. Just that nice rustic look through the whole thing just kind of brings the whole gun together and looks awesome. And the one thing that I do appreciate about this figure, and back out just a little bit here, is even though there's no storage for the rifle, which is like, come on, at least here you get a hip holster for the pistol. So it's like, well, at least we get that. Now with that out of the way, those are all the accessories. The paint apps on this guy, and this is what really drew me, is I love how the gas mask just looks used and dingy and banged up. the eye holes. Kind of reminds me of something like My Bloody Valentine, which, speaking of this figure, you know, if you're not like a huge Spawn fan, I'm thinking, and I've seen a few people do this, where they're actually using this character as a makeshift rat catcher for Batman, because we haven't really gotten a regular old school rat catcher figure. And then even when they released the Suicide Squad line, we didn't get the daughter version of rat catcher 2 either. So I'm like, so at least you have some options. If you don't want to use this for your Spawn display, you can use it for your Batman. The hose, I'm glad that it's loose, so you can kind of get a little bit of mobility, and you can see the skin tone kind of behind the hood, so you can see, at least see that's a human. That would be kind of cool if it was like green or something, to be like, wait, is this an alien? What is this? The shoulder pads, great stuff. And again, like, I like this cape. You can really work with it. It's very pliable plastic. And I've said this 1,000 times, and I'm sure y'all are sick of hearing it, but with this wanting to save plastic ordeal, then why are we still giving us plastic capes? Why don't you give us what Mafex gives us and do cloth with with the bendy wire? That would be absolutely awesome. And then we'd be able to pull the hood back, because the hood is also plastic. But at least letting that go, at least it's dry brushed nicely. It looks nasty and dirty, because he walks, you know, he treads through the sewers and whatnot. So you can tell that it's old, dingy. His clothes, same thing. Love all the belts, very reminiscent of a 90s look, and they're soft plastic so you can move them around. Like the reflected gunmetal gray chest piece, good stuff. Browns, gloves look good, gun holster's awesome. I like that he has a little bit of battle damage with this wrap around his leg. Again, more buckles for that 90s effect, which I'm all about. I'm glad that the knee pads too look like they've been through the grinder and don't look nice. You know, he's actually seen some action. Same with the paramilitary boots. You can tell they're very much used and mucked on. Just kind of adds that whole flavor to what this character's persona is about. Now for the articulation, what we get with the Soul Crusher, it works. My probably biggest gripe with this figure is the head, because the hood and the head's all one piece. And again, always make sure to warm up your figure. This guy was super tight. I had to first do a hot bath, throw him in there for a little bit, and then I noticed that his upper bicep swivels were still messing up, so I put him in front of a space heater for about 5 minutes just to get that loose and moved it around. So always think about that before you start monkeying with your figures, because you have the chance of snapping them. With that said, even though, like I said, the hood is irritating, the hose doesn't get in the way, thankfully. You can kind of get him to look down about that much. And if you really work on it about that much up, the only time that this becomes a thing is trying to turn his head right. It's like, come on. But at least you can get that much. About that much. So that's probably my biggest gripe in terms of the articulation. And even though the shoulder pad's in the way, you can still spin his arm 360. I apologize, still getting over the scuff, guys. Arm can go up that much. And then, of course, that way. And then I just said the upper bicep swivel with this. That was so tight, it was driving me nuts. Double jointed elbows. Whoop, whoop. Arm can spin 360. Hand, arm. You know what I'm talking about, anatomy. Now, his gloves, the way that they overlap the ball joint, which I'm thankful for, but it really makes it hard to move the hand up and down. Let me get a focus so you guys see what I'm talking about. So you can kind of see the ball joint here, but because the way it overlaps, I warm this thing up so much, and that's about the range that I can get up and down on the hand. So it is what it is, but still, I'm going to say it's going to piss me off. Now his ab crunch, you can get him to go down about that much and that much back. And if you go that far, you're going to get that crease, which kind of sucks. But at least he bends here, and he kind of bends at the waist, so you can twist him at the waist and at the solar plex. So you can kind of get a nice range there to make it look like he's running, whatever you guys want to do. So you get that nice range of motion. all around. So good stuff. Just have to watch out for the cape. That's with always with capes. Legs go up that much, that far out. Now, one thing to watch out for is even though he can go all the way out 90 degrees, this part here kind of tucks in and you see that gap, and it's just, even though it's not a big deal, it drives me crazy, and I think that's just my OCD kicking in. And then because he has a soft butt flap, pay attention, Hasbro, you can get his leg about almost 90 degrees that way. Double jointed knees, whoop whoop. Foot go up, foot go down, foot go rocky rocky, and then of course you get the cool toe pivot. And I'm glad that McFarlane's kind of learning. You get a little bit of a thigh swivel there. So that's what I mean. Other than the head, you get a really nice range of motion. So not too much to complain about, just wish you could do more with the head. For comparisons, here's a Soul Crusher next to the Borderlands 2 McFarlane's Psycho, and then the NECA Toys Ghostface. Yes, it's from Scream, but the box says Ghostface, but it's Scream. And then the Sauron Build-A-Figure Wave X-Men Deadpool, which is still one of my figures. And then, of course, I have to say the all-round, figure of the year is the X-Men Bonebreaker Darwin. Now, I just kind of threw these out here so you guys can kind of get an idea that both of these bad boys back here, 7 inches, Ghostface sits around 6.5, and then, of course, these two are 6. So, in terms of, putting these figures together up close, it's going to look craptastic because Deadpool just looks like, itty bitty. But again, you kind of start playing with the depth of field, whether it be in photography or on your shelf, or you just kind of want to, cheat it and put Deadpool up on something like a little stand. Then you're going to be okay if you want to put these guys in a battle on a shelf. But photography-wise, you put them up close, you're not even going to notice the difference. And whether you're a fan of McFarlane's toys or X-Men or horror, all these are going to jive together because I always like making Darwin the one that's just kind of like, oh my god, especially the hands that they gave him. It just kind of adds that, let's run, Scooby, yoinks. Zoinks, not yoinks. Sorry, I was watching TikTok last night and someone said something like, I yoinked when I should have yeeted, and that's been stuck in my head ever since. So do with that as you will. But anyway, let me know what you guys think of these figures down in the comments below. I absolutely enjoy this figure. Other than a few minor things, I like what they did with this figure. I like the uniqueness of him. The kind of horrific gas mask, kind of that faceless look to it is what really drew me to it and still does. I wish, since Hasbro's kind of having that big, fit about saving plastic, then why don't we start getting wired capes like Mafex? You won't use plastic. Hello? I'm just saying. The only big gripe that I have with this figure, and I had the same gripe with the Gunslinger Spawn, is the narrow feet. I don't know what they're smoking, but if they would just whiten those feet a little bit, I think a lot of these figures that keep falling down would tend to have a lot better, balance and center of gravity, but it is what it is. I'm going to let that go because overall the sculpting, painting, awesome. And if you guys have enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and grab yourself one of these. If not, then check out the places that we talked about at the beginning of this review. Speaking of, if you have enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate it if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you can possibly know. And if you won't mind hitting that fancy little spawn bell next to subscribe, that way so we can continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with you all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, photo slideshow coming up next. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.